George is too stubborn thinking about that grill, man. That grill, all you got to do is tilt the pan and the grease run right off of it, you know. Talking about knock off the grease. You don't need no grease. Just tilt the pan. You got to buy that George Foreman grill. No, I ain't going to buy your George Foreman grill.
George Foreman. George Foreman was a major player in the 1970s. He went away for years, but he disappeared. This man disappeared for a decade, okay? Went out during the time when all the rest of these heavyweights was getting on drugs and stuff. He started a congregation. I'm not really a religious type guy or something, nothing like that, but he was able to go away and actually came back, and in the 1990s was able to beat Michael Moore and get a title at the age of 45. Like, you know, I always find it amazing how this man walked away from the sport in the early 80s, because I keep thinking like Foreman should be in here somewhere, because him and Holmes are around the same age, only a few months apart. You know, they were both born in 1949.
We can do that, George. All you got to do is call this old man named Larry Holmes, even though you're 1 year older than me, and we can sign the papers and we go into the knockout bag.
Well, I would always think like, damn, man, what would it have been like if George Foreman was here in the early 80s? And I just want to know, at that time, did y'all ever think about George Foreman coming back? Was he missed at the time? Because I don't remember you know, that time period very well. About was he missed, or was he just the guy who disappeared and y'all was surprised? I remember when he came back. I remember when my dad told me, hey, you won't believe this, but George Foreman, my dad was so excited. He said, George Foreman is coming back. He's gonna beat all these young punks' ass, and this and that. You know, what's your opinion on George Foreman in the early 80s when he walked away from the sport, you know, around that time period?
Well, when Foreman lost to Ali, people thought he was going to knock Ali out. George went into a deep depression after the Ali fight, and he walked away. I mean, he fought Jimmy Young, and he was knocked down a couple of times in that fight, I believe once or twice. I vaguely remember. And he decided to walk away. Now, he went into, he became a minister, and he was neck deep into religion. And plus, people don't know George Foreman made a gospel album. And a lot of people don't know that. He made a gospel album. And I thought he was gone forever. So when he came back, I thought it was a publicity stunt, you know. But what surprised me is how effective he was. George Foreman was the strongest fighter that boxing has ever produced. He had brute strength. He said he never lifted a weight in his life. He was the quintessential country strong boy. He was that's George Foreman. He didn't never lift a weight in his life. And when he came back, you know, he started fighting fringe contenders, journeymen, then fringe contenders. But when he knocked out Cooney, I said, whoa. And then when he shocked Moore, because see, he set that knockout up beautifully. He hit that straight right hand. It was a very short right hand. He hit Moore 1-2 on the top of the head, the forehead. Then he came back with another 1-2. He hit that straight right hand, and Moore felt like it was in slow motion. And then I'll never forget it. So what the joke was on us. George not only came back, but outside the ring, he became, you know, you had George Foreman grill. So he made something of himself. I've never seen an athlete or a person that can just disappear like he never existed and come back and wreak havoc on the heavyweight division. You know, even against somebody like Evander Holyfield, who was chiller than granite, you know, he showed a good account of himself, even though he lost the fight. But nobody never got down on George. He gave a good account of himself. This man was away for years and fought for the heavyweight, became a heavyweight champion, and fought for the heavyweight championship. To this day, Blood, I still can't believe it. I'm in awe of George Foreman. I really am. I'm in awe.
You know what, though? I'm not going to lie, man. When he first came back, Sports Illustrated did a story on him. You remember the picture of him on the cover of Sports Illustrated? He had the ball dome.
Yep.
Yeah, just first comeback, and they said George Foreman is making a comeback. I looked at it and I kind of laughed to myself like, man, Mike Tyson is going to Because at that time, Tyson had yet to fight Buster Douglas, and I was thinking like, man, this old guy's gonna get killed by Mike Tyson. He must be crazy talking about he coming back. Somebody gonna hurt this guy. And for a while, I thought it was a joke too. Like you said, you thought it was a publicity stunt in the beginning. So I remember when I first saw that, I laughed to myself, and I told me and my dad argued about it. I told my dad, I said, man, there's no way this old guy's gonna be able to come back. I mean, he don't even have hair anymore. Look at, I was a kid at the time, so you know how you think when you're a kid.
Right.
I looked at him as a really old guy. This guy coming back in his late 30s. I think. Because what was he, like 38 or something like that?
38, 39, somewhere around there. Real late 30s.
Yeah, so it was kind of like I didn't really believe it. But you know what? When he started beating guys like Burt Cooper, you remember Burt Cooper?
Yes.
When he started beating guys like that, and then he beat was it Dwight Muhammad Qualley?
He beat him too. Yes, he did. Yes.
So some of those old school fights, man. George Foreman showed that he just had that power, man. And he was more relaxed in the ring too than he was in the 70s. Like he was in his physical prime in the 1970s, but he was like really wild. Like he was an unorthodox fighter in the 70s, really like all over the place. And like if you look at his fights in the 1970s, you notice that about him? He's like,
yes, I do.
Like running all over the place and chasing behind. He didn't do that. When he came back, he was more relaxed, man. And he'll let the fight come in the pocket, and he had a nice jab. He had the fundamentals. He just seemed like a better, thinking fighter. When he came back, maybe he also thought about it during the time he was out, that mental edge that Ali had over him.
Right.
Okay? That mental edge, he brought that, somebody had done that to him. And like you said, he lured Michael Moore. So by that time, he was a thinking fighter. You know what I'm saying? When you lose some of your attributes, you sometimes have to go to the mental. You know what I'm saying? So, it's amazing. And now this guy's like I think he's the second richest guy in boxing. Floyd Mayweather being the richest fighter, Foreman is second.
Look, George Foreman, when he came back, and we thought it was a publicity stunt, but George Foreman fooled us all, and I'm gonna tell you why. With the hamburgers, he always had a hamburger in his mouth. And see, George Foreman did something very smart that people didn't catch that I caught. And I pointed to the TV. I said, George, you got me. He sided with what you call senior citizens, the elderly. And see, when you do that, you tap into sentiments with people. Little kids, dogs, the elderly. And that's what George Foreman did. And he said, people over the age of 40 can do this. And people started siding with him. He had that whole arena in the uproar when he beat Michael Moore. And I don't know if that was a stunt. I thought it was. But see, he was winning. See, when you win and you make up something in your mind where I can have the public, for me or against me, Mayweather and Ali, played the villain role and they played it well. And that's what you do. You put fannies in the seats. And George Foreman made a believer out of a lot of people, especially when the way he beat Cooney. That was devastating. And when he beat Moore. And even Holyfield, so George is one of the few people that I'm in awe of because he had two careers. It was they used to call this fighter the wild bull of the Pampas. It was the old fighter. I call George that. The early George, wild bull of the Pampas. When he came back a completely different fighter because he became well-grounded. See, George was wild. He fought 5 people in one night in Toronto. That was a fiasco. That was just publicity. But George came back a thinking man, and with that power, and they said power is the last thing to go, he proved it. So, kudos to George Foreman. I still can't believe what he pulled off and what he did. It's amazing.
Foreman is stalking down menacingly to Muhammad Ali. This is an old movie rerun too, the same kind of Ali scene you've seen so many times. Get that jump back! Get that jump back! Hold it, John! Don't jump on him! Get him back in there! One number that Foreman really takes him as seriously as he looks. Foreman has been a dispirited, lonely man through all of the 6 months that have passed since Ali knocked him out in the 8th round. He is here alone today, in effect. Not with him is Dick Sadler, his former trainer-manager. Not with him is Archie Moore, who's always been at ringside with him. Not with him is Sandy Sadler. The only one with him, as his corner man, is a gentleman by the name of John Gray. Look at Ali going through his act, looking up, and George right over us again, talking back down to Muhammad Ali. John Gray in George's corner was a very famous cut man for 13 years with Hammerin' Henry Armstrong. He's a veteran boxing guy and knows his business in the corner, but you have to wonder why George is trying to do it all alone. And what has he got to gain, really? If he knocks these 5 guys out, they'll say, well, he should have. There he goes, down again, walking around the center of the ring.
Great show, great show. George has just knocked out his first opponent.
So far, Muhammad Ali is once again the baleful stare of George Foreman, which he derived from the man whose boxing disciple he truly is.
George, you crazy.
Or was the late Charles Sonny Lister.
That's crazy. I'm surprised. These fellas are better than I thought they were.
There's Terry Daniels in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, George Foreman's next opponent. There went, from that right, Jerry Judge went down. George is now talking while the count continues over Judge, again to Ali. Talking to Ali. He's paying too much attention to Ali and not enough to young Jerry Judge. This is a tough, gutsy kid, as I said. The bell for round 1. George is getting mad. We're back live at Toronto's Maple Leaf Gardens. This is what has just transpired here. George Foreman again coming through the ropes. That's Don King, the promoter, and Muhammad Ali. George Foreman telling Ali what he was going to do to them if and when they meet again. George is standing right over us now. He has been receiving the boos of the crowd constantly. The thing is degenerated into a charade, a carnival. Not a pretty scene, though he has been agitated to an extraordinary extent by Muhammad Ali, who is immediately to my right. Ali has been right about one thing. It's not so easy to fight 5 different guys, one after another, each of them fresh. Once in, then there was the weird scene at the end of the second round. Well, the fight had been stopped.
Daniels won't look him in the eye. He's scared.
The fight had been stopped. He stopped it, and the crowd disapproved. Foreman told the referee to stop it. Terry Daniels is walking after him. Terry's handlers are over-talking to me and screaming, no, he's not out. They've started fighting again. The referee off in the corner with the handler. I told you this is the weirdest occasion you'll ever want to see.
He started fighting because it's not really a fight. The referee's fighting George now. The trainer's fighting there. You can't take him down. I'll straighten it all out.
There's the introduction. Turned out to be a series of preposterous events. There's Boone Kirkman, right over there in the lower right-hand corner of your screen.
Hit the ropes. There you go. Hit the ropes. There you go. See, hit the ropes.
Foreman's trying to pull him off the ropes.
Make it work. Hit the ropes. Make it work. Hit the ropes. Make it work. Hit the ropes. Make it work. There you go.
Foreman held Polite's left glove and kept striking away at him with the right.
Hey, there you go.
Look at that. That's hardly professional, is it? In tactics, Ali is right.
He's doing my style, man. See, he's running George out. He's smart. He's taking my style. Oh, he's got George going. We might see upset tonight. Play the ropes.
Round 3. Foreman in the red, Charlie Polite in the black.
There you go. Wear him out. Get him time. There you go. Play the ropes. Time out. Time out. There you go. Play the ropes. There you go.
There is simply no shutting Muhammad Ali up at this point.
Play the ropes.
He is so delighted to see Polite using the rope.
That's why I knocked out 5. I'm going to knock out 3. Joe Frazier, Ken Norton, and Ali. Although the referee's not going to allow these guys to lay on the rope like they did. You cannot fight and lay on no ropes. You can't fight and lay on no ropes. What's wrong with these men? The only reason the guy went 3 rounds, he laid on the rope. I'm going to fight. I'm going to beat every heavyweight in the world. Then I'm going to retire, go home and kiss my little daughter, and get away from boxing.
Hit Ali.
Ali might be good, but as long as I'm around, he's second best. He beat a banana over in Africa. He didn't beat no George Foreman, man. How can you see that? How can he beat me? Where's he go? Can't beat me. He was bleeding. I don't want to stop. I mean, I've got to get in there and fight all the champions, all the fighters in the world. Then I'm going to retire from boxing. Here's the matchmaker right here. Sign the man up, tell him to stop fighting Chuck Webb, and I knocked him out in 3 rounds. I knocked Joe Frazier out in 2 rounds. Kenny Norton out in 2 rounds. Corey never did have enough heart to fight me. Ronnie Lyle was still a kid. I am the best around. No way he can go around and fight these guys and claim to be the best when George Foreman is still alive.
Okay, George.
Yeah, he had a lot of will, too, because I think it might have been the 7th round in that Holyfield fight where Holyfield hit him with a series of hooks. But I don't know what kept this man up. You know what I'm talking about? You know that round?
Unbelievable. Yeah, Holyfield him with
up in that moment. It's like because the younger George Foreman would have went down. He would have went down for that. For that right there, Holyfield put some punishment on him, man. And he stood up, man, and it's just like he had this will. And man, that was bullshit about the grills and stuff because he was keeping himself in shape. You know, greasy burgers and all that. And then Larry Holmes always hated on him. There was a time where Larry Holmes actually went out and had a grill. And I remember seeing Larry Holmes in this commercial years ago, and he said, what's these guys talking about this grilling machine? I want some grease in my burger. And he had his own grill. He was always hating on George Foreman.
He was jealous. He was jealous of George. George was very popular when he came back and he started making noise. George Foreman was everywhere. He was on talk shows. He was in magazines. People who didn't like boxing was talking about George Foreman. So George was popular. And see, Larry scoffed at the notion. Wait a minute, I beat Ali. I came after Ali. I held the heavyweight title for 7 years and this and that. He didn't like Foreman to come in and snatch all the publicity. So that's why Holmes hated on Foreman. He hated Foreman, hated on Foreman. That's how Larry was, though.
They're supposed to be friends, and I still see him because I follow Larry Holmes real close, and he still says little sly stuff. And at a Hall of Fame speech, he said Foreman could never fight. He said everybody knows at some speech. Did you ever hear that? He said,
I didn't hear that.
But Sugar said, Larry Holmes, you was one of the great guys. I bet you left behind George Foreman. What the heck was he thinking? Everybody know that George Foreman can't fight. Everybody know that Thomas Martin kicked his butt. Everybody know that Shannon Breed kicked his butt. Everybody knew that he wouldn't fight me. He can sell y'all all the green on y'all stupid. Because I'm gonna tell you, most people that get fooled is these guys out there that tell their own lady to go home and buy get them George Foreman grill. But don't listen to your husband when they tell you to buy George Foreman grill. Somebody's gonna knock out the fat. Well, if you don't want your hamburger to be greasy, you crazy. Foreman grill. You know he's crazy. He tell you anything, you don't buy it. Anybody named their kid George. You gotta be crazy. You gotta be crazy. I know George Foreman personally. It's not my fault he happened to be in a boxing game and didn't want to fight me to get to know him. But George Foreman is the biggest, I'm going to say biggest phony ever. I know that because I hung around. These guys know it too.
Because see, Larry Holmes, towards the end of his career, he fought some of the old school guys. He fought Bone Crusher Smith again, and he fought Mike Weaver again. And he wanted to fight Foreman. He kept calling Foreman out, and I think that would have been Larry Holmes' like defining moment to beat George Foreman, and maybe that would have been helped him bury that little monkey that he had, that chip on his shoulder, that monkey on the back. He needed that fight with George Foreman. He really badly wanted to fight George Foreman throughout that whole run. When he came back, one of the main things, the fights that he kept calling for, was George Foreman, but George Foreman never wanted to fight old Larry Holmes. So somebody wanted to fight him, man. Whatever reason, he didn't want to fight Larry Holmes, man.
Well, remember, Larry Holmes was hating on Mike Tyson too, because when Mike started getting up in popularity, Larry Holmes, well, he was right. He said Mike was going to end up in jail.
He did.
And he called him a son of a bitch. And he called Mike dirty, you know, because when Mike destroyed Terrell Biggs, you know, that's when Holmes started going in on Mike Tyson. And that's when he said he going to wind up in jail. And Larry was right.
Right.